Hey, everybody, welcome to First Glance with Jody Vance. Finally, I get to do an interview with something that I know a little something about. I'm excited to introduce you to Beacn Wizardry and Magic, BECN on the TSX Venture Exchange. Craig Fraser is the CEO of Beacn Wizardry and Magic. And people are thinking, Jody, are you a magician? Are you a wizard? Are we at Hogwarts? No, we're going to talk about, well, the microphones, the mixing boards, the magic involved in content creation. And Craig, I'm really glad that you could be part of our content today on First Glance.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Jody. Appreciate you having me.
Let's dive right into what the heck is Beacn Wizardry and Magic?
Yeah, the name is one that people go. I don't think I've ever seen a stock ticker with that kind of stuff in it. You kind of hit it on the head there. That I mean, we make gear for content creators who are streaming on Twitch and doing video gaming and that kind of stuff. So when it came to coming up with a name for what was going to sit on the stock market, it was like, well, do we want to do something that's very typical and safe and here it is, or do we want to do something that kind of represents the fun that we are? So it's a bit of a hybrid between kind of industrial light and magic and Harry Potter. And that's sort of
I
where it sits for us.
love that. I love it. We're already friends. We're fast friends. Because you also don't strike me as the CEO type, and take that as it is intended, because it feels to me like you are motivated by the want to create what is user friendly and fitting with the time and really what is needed by those of us who have to sort of cobble together what we think we're supposed to do, where you can pull it all together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole thing for us doing a public offering and all that was part of the fundraising and part of, the nature of bringing the company together that we didn't necessarily even expect at the beginning. You kind of go through startup land and you've got first and second rounds of investment and all that. And then this idea
Yeah.
comes up of, hey, what about, doing something public? What really fundamentally appealed to me was for both the initial investors and future investors and also the employees to actually have something real. It's if you're part of a private company and it's like, great, you get a bunch of shares that amount to nothing. And the reason we built this company was to have a good place for people to work and to sort of peel back from some of the negative experiences maybe a lot of us had throughout the years working for other companies and try to create
Yeah.
this like idealistic place. And part of that was, how do you help people to share the windfall if the company does well? I want to see people be able to buy houses and send their kids to university, and those kinds of things that are getting further and further, out of reach for the average person. So that was sort of the big exciting part for me. And the Beacn Wizardry and Magic part of it was building something that was atypical and then saying we're okay with that. Like, us being us is why we're going to succeed or fail. And I would rather go down swinging as we truly are than generating a bunch of weird false hype and all those things. We want to build a solid company that lasts for a long time. So that's
That
why we
is so
went into it that
cool.
way.
That is so cool, Craig. Craig Fraser, if you just tuned into this and went, wait a minute, what did he just say? We're going to have ethics and want to help create
Right?
something that's a great place for everybody to work. And what? Ding, 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 checking the boxes of so many people that want to be involved in something like Beacn Wizardry and Magic. Again, BECN, BECN on the TSX Venture Exchange, if you want to look that up. Based in Victoria is Craig and Beacn Wizardry and Magic. So let's dive in a little bit to your background, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Like, what brought you to here?
Yeah, kind of a circuitous route, but I guess that's what makes it a little bit different. I started back when I was a kid, always being, sort of fascinated with technology, right? I was the guy taking stuff apart and learning how to use computers, and whoops, I broke it and all that stuff. And that led me to eventually, I played in a band. And while you're in a band, somebody needs to know how to run all the gear. So that kind of led to the more professional audio side of things and learning about recording studio gear and stuff for live sound and all that. That led to a job at a company that makes audio equipment for singers for live on stage stuff. And as a part of being there, I was watching Twitch TV at the side of my desk and noticing, as I was product developing, all these people who were playing games online who were struggling with their audio. Hey, I wonder if all of these Lego bricks that we have available for these singers could get put into a product that would help these folks who are doing their live broadcasts. And really the outcome is the same, right? You're in front of an audience, you have a bunch of stuff you're doing, you want to have the least amount of struggle with the bits and pieces, because what you're focusing on is the people in front of you. You know, you can't see them when you're through a webcam, but it's the same idea. You've got
It's
the people
there.
there, right? So
Yes.
they're playing a game. They've got their hands on their keyboard and mouse. They've got a couple of cameras. They've got a screen with text chat they're trying to read and all this. And we thought, how could we simplify this audio experience so we could bridge the gap between low quality, buy it at Best Buy, and high quality but confusing, go to the music store and spend a bunch of money. So we were really trying to kind of fit in the middle there. That led to some very successful products at this other company, which then led us to, hey, I wonder if we could do this whole thing differently, like we talked about, you know, build something
Yeah.
from scratch for ourselves. And so that's really what led to Beacn. And it's kind of an interesting position to be in, where we're effectively competing with our former selves for the part of the market segment we created previously. So it's a bit of a weird one to be in. So we're sort of looking at it as, how can we continue to leap forward and to maybe be a bit freer to be agile and to adjust and to look for opportunity that might not be super obvious. So the gaming industry provided this first opportunity. We're clearly trying to build our you know, our company in that realm. But we're also looking at all sorts of other places that we could go and help people and to do similar things. So that's where we look at for sort of the future growth and expansion of the company.
I love it because it's kind of an oops, I broke it in trying to take it apart and put it back together, and you built it better,
Yeah,
because
that's what
then
we're
you're
hoping.
looking at more of a specific, and then you see how it broadens out. And again, off the top, I said this is one that's in my wheelhouse because I've been broadcasting live radio in major markets across Canada for years out of my house.
Yeah.
So using that quality and the technology that is associated with it now versus me trying to set up my studio in the first days. Oh my Lord, because I am not
Yeah.
a tech, right? I had engineers that worked in the radio stations that I've been at for 30 years. But now with things like what you offer at Beacn Wizardry and Magic, somebody who wants to be like me and do something like this from there, it's crazy that we don't need the tubes and wires of the big corporate anymore to do
Yeah,
the
for
content
sure.
that we want to do. And that's obviously expanding almost as quickly as the universe is. Like,
Yeah.
so, but you're right in that spot where you can say, hey, what are your needs? And let us meet those needs, whether it be gaming or any other way of projecting what your content might be. I don't know any other way of
Absolutely.
doing it. It's limitless, is it
Well,
not?
yeah, I mean, you've got all the people who are YouTubing and, you know, making podcasts and all this stuff. And then of course the ancillary group of people is that, you know, every single person has had that crappy experience of, oh God, the Zoom sound, it's so terrible, and who's muted, and I can't turn this
You're on
person up and
mute.
down. And
Hold on.
yeah, exactly right. So we sort of looked at it and said, how do we transpose what is difficult but sounds really good to
Yeah.
people that they can really just kind of sit down and without a lot of tweaking they can get into it. And of course for us, we allow all the tweaking. It's, you know, for the people who want to nerd out and go down the rabbit hole, that's great. But part of our expertise is now, how do we continue to revolutionize these products while they're already in the market, and say, how could we do something that's manual now that we could turn to automatic, you know, and let's work on that. And then
Love
let's
it.
update the product and make it go further. And I think that's really exciting to be able to put a product in the market and then grow it after it's been released, which is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I dig that. Okay, Craig. So take us on sort of a laundry list of some of the
Yeah,
things that Beacn provides in terms of what's the hardware, software vibe. Like
sure.
what do we get?
Yeah, so I mean, you've got your get into the computer and then you've got your get out of the computer. I think that'd be sort of
Right.
the basic thing for most people who are using it. So typically, if you go to the store and you buy a microphone, it it goes into the computer. It needs to then be processed by some sort of software or plugins or whatever in order to sound great. You got to learn how to muck with those things, and then there's a whole bunch of limitations about how you can hear yourself. Oh, I can't hear the effect of the processing because it's got to go in the computer and come back out, and then it's delayed. And so our whole shtick with being able to do real-time audio processing meant, well, why don't we put all the processing directly in the microphone itself? So all of the stuff that you would normally do in the computer happens in the mic before it gets sent out. So therefore, at the other end, you don't have a big stage quality XLR cable that you need a box to plug it into and all that stuff. It just goes in by USB because lo and behold, you have a USB port on your computer. It makes a lot more sense. The headphones come out of the microphone as well. So then you hear yourself. I'm monitoring myself in real time so I can hear what I
Amazing.
sound like to you.
Yeah.
By the time that gets
Does
in
it
there,
sound delicious, by the way?
oh,
It
well, thank you
sounds
very much.
great.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and so you do that kind of stuff, and then you make some choices like I've done here with we put an LED ring on it that kind of appeals to the customization of the gaming crew. We have a white version of the mic and a black version for the various setups that people have. Then now you've got yourself sounding good inside the computer. And if you look at the music industry, a lot of the way they do a mixer is that it's also a bunch of junk that's outside of somewhere going in. So it's all of the mics on the drums and the guitars and all that. They need to go into the computer to, manipulate them in a recording session. For us, it's all about pulling out of the computer what you need. You need your Spotify level, you need your Zoom chat level, you need your browser, you need your system sounds, and you need to be able to just easily turn those things up and down. So as I'm on the call with you, it's not lit up, but I have my little mixer. It's got a screen on it, and it's got all these levels and stuff. And I can literally just reach out, and there's a chat knob, and I can turn chat down, and you get quieter. Or I can mute you, or I can mute myself, or I can, mute my music or turn it up and down on the little thing. Yeah. So we wanted to try and make it a lot easier to get all of that stuff that's typically spread out within Windows or Mac or wherever, and you're trying to find, how do I mute the thing? Just give me a little screen I can look at. I can push it. Yeah. So we find that we have two different models of the mixer. One's a bit more sophisticated. It's for the live streamers. They have really weird requirements that you wouldn't normally think of. So for example, if you and I are both playing games together and we both are streaming to our own audiences, well, you've got your audience, I've got mine. And I get a subscriber who is subscribed for 50 months in a row, and I want to make a big hoo-ha about, what that person is doing. It's kind of rude for me to do that hoo-ha over your stream. So I need a way to mute myself to the Discord call or the Zoom call, but not to my audience, right? I got to be able to still talk to my audience. So the nuts and bolts or the Lego bricks, like I talked about earlier, are those exist in the music industry. They're ways to mute things from one place to another. But being able to have somebody who has not been familiar with all subroutines and buses and all that stuff, just go, no, I just want to mute it to my stream, or I just want to mute it to my chat. We try and make those things a series of tick boxes and selections rather than sort of the industry standard terms for shunting all that stuff around is a lot more complicated and confusing.
Oh my gosh.
So that kind of shows how you take a simple idea, and then we have to really listen to the people who are doing the creating to say, what do you actually need to take place? Well, keeping in mind, I've got my hands on my keyboard and mouse, and I'm playing a shooter game, and I've got to be paying attention really closely to what's going on. So there's this management.
You cannot
of the
let
workflow.
this opportunity go by. You cannot die. You need your life to continue on this game.
Exactly.
How do I do it?
Yeah. So we try and create that, and that's in the sort of more fleshed out multi-option version of the mixer we have. The smaller one literally just reaches into Windows and it says, hey, I see Spotify there. Oh, where do you want Spotify? Drag it to a knob, and then now I have Spotify on a knob and I can control it and mute it. This one is one where if you stick it on someone's desk and they've never realized they have the problem yet, and then you let them use it for a week, and then you try and take it, it becomes one of those from my cold dead hands type situations where they
totally
really don't
I am
want to
having
give it up.
such envy over that right now. And here's the thing. I make a habit of not investing in any of the companies that are on First Glance with Jody Vance because I don't want anybody saying you're insider, you're just trying to pump your time. This is one of the handful of the companies that I'm really mad at myself for having that limitation. This is so cool because I can see little box being in front of my 85-year-old stepdad who loves to be on his computers, loves and is constantly like calling me like I'm his IT department. And if he had that, he could figure that out. Plus I have a 15-year-old who is super tech savvy gamer who has 3 screens going on. Oftentimes he's chatting with his girlfriend at the same time that he's playing a game and he's watching South Park. He would be like, so what Beacn Wizardry and Magic is doing is, I think, feeding so much of what used to be, as you keep referencing in the music industry, something that was sort of exclusive to something, and now is becoming more accessible as the metaverse grows, as we see the ability to do so much more like this content wise. It's just fabulous. I'm excited for you.
Thank
you.
Yeah, it's exciting and terrifying all at the same time, as any of these giant adventures are.
But you go down swinging.
Absolutely.
And you're making great things. So how do people, if I want one of those little boxes, how do I get it? First and foremost,
You
like
can
let's
literally
talk
go
about.
yeah, sure. You can, well, I mean, we can probably figure something out with, but for all of the rest of the people out there, you go to beacn.com, you can buy them direct off the website. We sell through Shopify and a fulfillment network. You can get them off amazon.com.ca, bestbuy.ca, walmart.com, newegg.ca. So yeah, there's a bunch of different places you can find them.
And for investor information, I'm assuming we go to the same place.
You can go to ir.beacn.com and get right to our investor relations. We've got an email list you can sign up for. We like to shoot little bits and pieces, like when we win awards and cool things like that. We'll let folks know what's going on. And we have, we've got new products coming out throughout this year as well, and a bunch of software updates. As I said, we kind of continue to expand what's going on all the time.
So we get to keep talking, which makes me happy because this went by way too fast. I've gone way over time. I'm not allowed to do that. I have to keep it bite-sized for the first glance with Jody Vance.
Sorry, I'm a bit of a talker. Yeah.
No, I love it all, Craig Fraser. Let this be the first of many discussions, and I can't wait to test the product. I'm a product tester.
Definitely. Well,
have a great day.
I'm sure that your 15-year-old will probably steal it all.
Steal it from me immediately. Yeah. I know it. I know it to be true, but I'm gonna love it because I'll watch and learn from him as I often do when it comes to tech stuff. So Thanks for this. And we'll look forward to chatting again. I just want to reiterate one more time, BECN on the TSX Venture Exchange, Beacn Wizardry and Magic. And now I fully understand the magic around what you're doing at Beacn. Thanks for this, Craig.
Thanks a lot, Jody. Appreciate it.